about it.
Okay. Okay, well, this is our top 10 Black technologists. So tell me your name and what do you do?
So hi, Anita. My name is Onome Ufomata, and I work for Microsoft. I'm an engineering manager on the M365 organization.
And so if you were telling an eighth grader what you do, what would that look like?
I'll tell them that I make the apps that they see on their mobile devices. So when they open up their tablets and say they go to, well, not quite like a YouTube, but any type of like lifestyle type of applications, I contribute to that. Or when they see their daddy and mommy looking at their calendars, I actually write the infrastructure that drives that calendar thing, right? That boring calendar thing. Yes.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. And tell me, where did you go to school?
I went to school I did my undergrad at Iowa State University, and I did my master's at the University of Texas. Welcome.
All right. So that leads to the next question. When did you move to Austin?
I moved to Austin so I interned in Austin originally in 2000, and then I moved full-time in January of 2002. So I've been in Austin now for a long time, 20 years.
Awesome. Where were you born and raised?
I was born in Nigeria. I was also raised in Nigeria for most of my life. I immigrated to the US for college in '97. And so I think that could give you a bit of give you a little bit of my age, but yes, I grew up and then most of my formative years were in Nigeria. A little sprinkle of the UK here and there, but yeah, mostly in Nigeria.
Awesome. And what was life like growing up there? What's a day in the life?
Day in the life, not not terribly different. Obviously, the scenery is very different, right? For sure. But day in the life, if I was going to say, when I was younger, both my parents actually were college professors. So we actually lived on a college campus. My primary school, or the equivalent of your elementary school, wasn't a college campus. Same thing as my middle school and high school. So I was really surrounded with a lot of, I'd say, professors' kids. And that was more of my growing up, professors' kids. I'm the oldest of 5 kids. So it's like 3 boys and 2 girls. So I've got 4 siblings under me. So you've got a lot of the, I'll say the chaos that comes with that. And being the oldest of 5, I got to learn I'll say some leadership qualities there, though they may not be the most refined. But yes, that's a quick 50-foot view in the day of the life of growing up and my particular upbringing.
Awesome, awesome. And what got you into tech, and how did you make that?
Oh yeah, so when I was younger, it was actually between 3 choices. Originally, I thought I was going to be a doctor, or I was going to be an architect, or I was going to do something in technology. I just wanted to be an inventor. That was my thing. So I used to watch Go Gadget, and I wanted to be an inventor. And so I looked into medicine. I was like, I don't know, if I make a mistake there, that could be really bad on someone. Then I looked into architecture, and then I really realized it's very regional specific. And I know that's really reductive of architecture, but there was a piece of it that felt like, okay, yeah, if I studied architecture in Africa or in the UK, then it may not cross over as much into other areas. And so, the whole thing of wanting to be an inventor really stuck with me, and that's why I got into computer engineering.
What advice would you give someone who's considering going into tech?
Advice, I would say, we all have creativity in us, right? So creativity is not only with your pen and pencil, it's not only with a paintbrush. Really, there's a lot of opportunity for creativity in technology. So the one thing I love, particularly about software programming, software engineering itself, is that I think it's that one discipline that requires both sides of your brain. Right? You have this kind of creative angle, kind of problem solving aspect to it, and then you have what feels more like the traditional engineering take to it. And then fortunately, just in this time and age that we're in right now, just, it's so boundless in what you can accomplish. Like anything, I do say that I do follow and believe in that adage, that engineers make the world go around. There's so much that we're still yet to accomplish. And I'll say this is a great time to get into technology. You could really apply it in so many different facets of life, applies to every facet of life. Yeah, I highly recommend that, yeah, you explore technology. If you feel like you're creative, you want to be a world changer, you want to make an impact on people's lives, so on and so forth. All of the above. There's opportunity in technology for sure.
Awesome. So I recently read a book with Tim Ferriss, and he had a few questions, and so I
Yeah.
stole a few of his questions because normally I ask my own, and but I thought they were kind of interesting. So I'm going to ask you some of his questions.
Okay.
What purchase of $100 or less has most positively impacted your life over the last 6 months or in your recent memory?
Ooh, so I can't give you 6 months because remember we had the whole COVID lockdown thing. So, but I will tell you the one that I knew has impacted my life for sure was when I first moved to Austin. I went to a half-price bookstore and I bought personal finance and stock investing for dummies. And I gotta say, so this is a long time ago. I know it's not quite that 6 month ask you asked for, but just reading through like stock investing for dummies, understanding financial systems, really has made an impact to my life. Kind of understanding kind of how how financial system in the U.S. works.
Awesome. How has a failure or apparent failure set you up for later success?
Oh, there are many of these, but I'll probably think of the more recent one, recent-ish, been in the 2015 to 2017 timeframe. So I took some time off of technology uh, with my wife, and we started a franchise concept. No, we didn't start one. We bought into a franchise concept. So it's a gym concept, right? So very different, right? So my wife was a teacher and a software developer at that point in time, and then we bought and became business owners, right? So really learned quickly, right? Which the business concept is that it's more of a sales job, right? You're managing the business. You want, to try to do the advertising and get business in, but at the same time, you're kind of taking care of all the logistics, like hiring and keeping operations going. So that, so I'll get to how I'll say maybe term as quote unquote a failure, but what we learned there was that we learned about lanes. So we weren't seeing the outcomes we were hoping to get as part of the business. That got me to get a business coach who's still been a mentor of mine till today. He kind of taught us about a few concepts. One of them that really stood with me, which is could do's versus should do's, and it pretty clearly came to me that I'm not my lane is not sales. It's not, my lane is really not selling gym memberships, right? My lane is really in technology. And over the course of mentoring and just business training, he guided me back into tech. And this time, and my second go around in the technical field, I really took it seriously. I really kind of focused and zoned into my career. Prior to that, I was a developer, but wasn't really kind of career focused. After trying to do business and do sales, I realized that no, technology is my lane. So I got back and I just kind of hit the ground running on the second try around in technology.
Awesome. And tell me, what did you learn from it all?
Oh, what I learned from it. So I learned about what I call lanes, right? So we're all born with fingerprints. We're all born with what I'll say are natural or maybe alignment. And I don't state that to say that we can't grow. Anything you set your mind to, you can accomplish. But I think there's certain lanes to where you find relative success with considerable less effort than other folks in that lane. So if I was going to contrast that with when we're selling gym memberships, there was another franchise, another couple that did the same thing, similar to my wife and I. And within the time of kind of running their business, they got to double, even almost triple their business. And we were in very close communication with them and kind of, try to ask them, how come you were so successful in expanding your business? And it so turned out that they were in sales prior to that. So they'd already kind of had that natural inclination towards sales. They were really good at it. And so I realized that most of the kind of the bigger outcomes I've gotten with what I'll say is relatively, I don't want to use the word low effort, but just kind of just very naturally in my lane where we're in technology. I'd released an app on the App Store that I'd done just really well without much marketing or effort, just by the presentation. So that just really led me back to my lane. So what I learned from there is that technology is my lane. I'm fully invested in it. Still invest in business, but it's kind of has to have a kind of technology ring to it. So sorry, I think you're muted.
I was
Yeah.
being noisy over here on this side. If you had a gigantic billboard anywhere with anything on it, metaphorically speaking, getting a message out to millions or billions of people, what would it say and why? It could be a few words or a paragraph.
So let me think this through. I know the direction I'll go in. I don't know exactly how I'll frame it, but I would say it would say something along the lines of, we're all the same, we're all part of one big family. And I'll say that just to highlight that I feel there's been a lot of noise, a lot of artificial forces that humans have put in place to separate us. And instead of, in certain arenas, instead of celebrating our differences and really taking advantage of that and making the beautiful mosaic that we all form together, we've chosen to let those differences separate us. And technology is nowhere different. I feel that in so many different facets of life, if we really just honed in and took advantage of our differences and the diversity that comes with that, that will be so much more advanced as humans. But I'm very bullish and very hopeful, and I know that the world could definitely be a better place. But if I was going to say something to all of humanity, is that you and I are the same. We're all part of one big family.
And you may have already answered this one, but what is one of the best or most worthwhile investments you've ever made? And could be with money, time, energy, or et cetera.
It absolutely has to be my education. I grew up, like I said, I grew up with college professors as parents. Education was never negotiable for us. It wasn't a, hey, are you going to go to college? It was like, what college are you going to, and what are you going to do in college? So I would say for sure, number one would be my education, and then number two would be just public appearance. I don't just want to say public speaking, but just public appearance.
What's a worthwhile or what is an unusual habit or absurd thing that you love?
Oh, absurd.
Remember, everything is relative, right?
Yeah. Oh man, this is tough. And I've got a bunch of quirks. I'm trying to think of something absurd.
Or unusual.
Is that
Or unusual.
or unusual? Yeah. It's Sorry, I'm thinking. I'm trying to think of like kind of what how deep I go with this one. Absurd or unusual? No.
Just come on.
You may have to strike up. You may have to strike up this one.
Listen,
Okay,
man, we can't use it all, right? So
yeah. So obviously, right. So
yeah,
obviously,
and the last one I did, it was like once he told me, he's like, "You're probably not going to use that." I was like,
yeah, this one I'm a little bit, and I bring this up just because my family gets on me about this. Right. So I grew up in Nigeria. You've seen the little memes where they say like, you've got a wing, and the Caucasian eats the wing, and a lot of meat is still left on the bone. Then you've got you give like African American, and the little ends of the bone are eaten. You give a Jamaican, you've got just half the bone left. You give an African, and there's just nothing in the picture. So my wife and my kids, they get on me about that because they definitely have seen daddy just
chew the bones.
Yeah. Less than I used to, but yes, I do chew the bones.
That is, oh my God. Yeah. My sweetheart, I get on him about, and I'm like, come on, really? we've got more. It's like,
Yeah, I know. It's
not the point.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. So it's funny you said that because when I was still dating my wife and I met her family for the first time, it was like at a cookout. And so I'm eating the bone, and then her uncle was like, "Man, we got more meat, right? Like, you really don't, you don't have to eat it." So yeah, that's probably the quirkiest. Every time I've done it, just the looks I get. I did it in the dorms when I first went to the U.S. The looks, yeah, that for sure is one of the quirkiest things that I do.
Well, in the last 5 years, what new belief, behavior, or habit has most improved your life?
Um, I was an avid reader when I was younger, but more recently, the last 5 years, just using Audible, just due to time constraints. So I do a lot of my reading now by just listening. So as I'm kind of running errands with kids or taking a walk or whatever the case may be, I feel like it helps me continue to assimilate knowledge, even though I don't have time to really sit and like time to myself to just read a book. So that's more of a factor of the fact that I've got 8-year-old, 6-year-old, and a 4-year-old. So Audible has been my friend for sure.
Yeah, it's my favorite too. When you feel overwhelmed or unfocused,
Yeah.
or have lost your focus temporarily, what do you do?
I tend to, I try to escape, but I don't get to escape as much. But my escape's actually built into my week. Um, and so I work out. So that's one thing I do quite a bit. So I'm part of the gym, and it's part hit training and kind of boot camp and weight training. But it just helps me get away mentally. Something else I do sometimes would be just be to binge watch a Netflix show. So I just look for it's been a long time since I've had a good Netflix show though, but sometimes I'll watch like an entire season. And I'm talking like day into night, and wife is asking, "Hey, where's your dad gone? He's locked himself in the media room." But I don't get to do that as much, like because I'm typically interrupted, but my non-interrupted times are my 6 a.m. workouts that I do 4 times a week. So that's where I go to. That's my escape. Like even
Which,
during kind of COVID, that was
yeah.
my sanity thing. For
Which
sure.
gym do you go to?
I go to one of my buddies' gyms here in Cedar Park. It's called Infinite Eight Fitness.
Okay.
Highly recommend. I don't know if you're in the area,
Was
but
it like like F45? I just started doing F45.
oh yeah, so it's like F45, but it's also got like a personal training aspect to it. So you can do the boot camps that are more like that. Well, not quite as F45 because you don't have the trackers per se, but you have stations that you go through during the boot
Yeah.
camp. Then he's got his personal train or semi-private training where it's not you one-on-one, but it's only 6 other folks in the gym at the same time. But you get more kind of personalized attention.
Yeah.
Sure. So with a diet plan and all that stuff.
In the last 5 years, I'm not sure if I asked you this one. What have you become better at saying no to? Distractions, imitations, and what new realizations and or approaches helped? Or any
Yeah,
tips on how to
yeah. So prior to COVID, we were like very actively social. I mean, we went to everything. We had like at least, I know no exaggerating here, at least 3 birthdays a weekend. We were big time hosts ourselves. We used to open our doors and have friends over. Um, volunteered at church, a small group, involved in a lot of things. And I'll say what we did not realize is that we were doing a lot of external facing relationship building, but that left us swamped and exhausted when it came to internal, like intra-family. And so with the kind of COVID slowdown, we just got to realize that, okay, it's okay to just, first of all, we had to figure out how to just be amongst each other, right? So kids were home, they weren't going to school. And I always thought I was a very like patient person until I was talking with the kiddos. So that slowdown helped me regain patience, not just regain, actually I'll say gain a relationship with my kids that I didn't have prior. And I thought, by providing and going out and doing stuff with them, but never really sat, just talked to them and, learned a lot of their quirks and their personalities to like the depth. So now I mean, pre-COVID, about 3 birthdays, a weekend. Post-COVID, maybe 1 or 2 birthdays a month, right? It's kind of like that's where we've got to. So we prioritize family time. Friday evenings for sure. That's family time. Wife's a realtor, so we go out with her and we start teaching the kids like different realtor techniques. Just a lot more family time for sure. But so I say no to just about a ton of things, and we just pick like maybe a handful a month. Not a week.
Which real estate brokerage is she with?
She's with Nora Wall and Company. It's like a boutique. Or yeah.
Because
If you went on YouTube and typed in Austin, you'll see my wife on there. She's
oh,
doing pretty well
what's
on
the name of
YouTube. It's Angie Ufomata. It's
Angie.
the same last name, but Angie. Yeah.
Okay, because we're doing a best of Austin, and one of the categories is best realtor. So
Oh.
yeah.
All right.
So,
Yeah. No, I think if you've done that research ahead of time, she's big on YouTube and she gets a lot of clientele there.
good. What do you see as your place or your purpose in life?
Uh, for, in terms of kind of linking to technology, I feel like I'm here to use my skill sets in technology to improve life. So I tend to like a lot of lifestyle and productivity type of applications. But ultimately, I think it's on a religious front, right? It's kind of worship through my work. If that makes sense. So I do my work. I try to do my work with excellence, and I try to make my work be a conduit for just more inclusivity and going back to we're all one family. And so even to what you said in terms of representation, getting more folks that look like me represented in technology so that we can get just the unique creativity that we've got in just kind of say the Black and African kind of source diaspora into technology. I think would be invaluable over time. So even if me being in tech results in a handful or however many more kind of Black kids and brown kids getting into technology, I feel that's contributing to a better future.
Who's your favorite person?
My favorite person, my mom. My wife isn't here, so
We get that all the time.
yes.
Right?
But if I was gonna go, who would be my favorite person outside of?
No, why your mom? Tell me why your mom.
Oh, why my mom? Well, my mom embodied everything that just really got me to where I am. Right. So growing up in a patriarchal society. So first of all, my grandparents were, more educated than the average, but she was also the oldest kid. And so, with my mom, just kind of seeing her navigating patriarchal society, with 5 kids, she taught us tie-dye. We had subsistence farming. We had a poultry at home. She was a 500 something fellowship. She's actually a provost in colleges right now. So she's been at HWS. So kind of like, the second in command in colleges. And so she did all these things. And she just does it so gracefully. And she's, really small in stature, but her boldness, right? So a lot of the inner principles that I use, I really learned from my mom, right? So she would always say, hey, you've got to speak for yourself, because if you don't speak for yourself, no one else will. She claims that I said this to her, but she said it back to me. But it's the one thing where we say life is not worth living if you're living for yourself. So having kind of a perspective beyond self in what you do, seeing her confidence, my mom, accent and all, it doesn't matter. She's just such a go-getter, but with grace, right? Not trying to step on people to get to where she wants to get to. So she's just been this model example. And as I've grown older too, I've kind of seen what I'll call her challenges. I'm more aware of her challenges, so I'm even more aware of how much more of just a real good, strong character she is to even push through those things as well.
So you've been in Austin since when?
2002?
2002.
Yeah.
So how would you describe Austin to people who've never been here?
How do I describe Austin? So Austin is definitely what I'll call a tech hub, in that I'll say more enterprise tech, not like, not the Silicon Valley, everything type of tech. So that's what we call Silicon Hills. I like Austin because it's not pretentious, right? So you're not trying to, keeping up with the Joneses. When you do yours on your side, I do mine on my end, no one's really trying to have their nose all up in your business and trying to one up you in general, right? In most parts of Austin. I like that. I would say that I definitely like the whole, I'll say the yin and yang of the liberalism with the kind of conservatism of being in a red state, right? I would say though, I wish Austin was more diverse, right? So of one of the more, like I'll say, progressive places in the US, it's definitely also a place where a lot of diversity is kind of spilling out of and getting worse and worse over time. And I think that's because I don't think there's enough opportunity for different cultures to really settle, right? So things make it tough, like price of real estate, or having a hangout spot, maybe in a downtown or area like that wouldn't get maybe accosted by cops much. And I believe in accountability on many fronts, but at the same time, I definitely see when things come about that are not part of the main culture, I feel there's a systemic squeeze on it in Austin that's very under the table that you don't get to see. But overall, all in all, I've lived in many different places in the world over time, and it's generally safe. It's a safe city. You can come here, mind your business, do your thing. But I also wish it felt more. I also wish it had more of a foundation for folks that are not part of the main population.
Describe what it's like to be a Black man in tech.
Right. Unicorn? No, I'm so, first and foremost, I'll say, being a man in tech is not as bad because there's a lot of men in tech. And I preface that to say the one thing for me that I really have a strong passion for is allyship with women in technology, for one. So I'll just throw that out there. But being a Black man in tech, a lot more, I'll say, open now. But when I first started, I definitely felt out of place, for sure. And it's one of those things to where being different, while on the surface may feel, you kind of deal with the fact that the unsaid truth there that you're different and you stand out. But at the same time, in my mind, in my head, I almost kind of took it as hey, I'm going to make this an advantage, to where you think I'm just off on the side doing this thing, but I'm going to sneak up and and shock and awe over time, and so it pushed me, right? It pushed me. I never wanted to be seen as a diversity hire. So every new job, every new position, up until maybe 2017, prior to that, I would make sure I quickly came in and show myself at least, one of the top, just kind of technically adept at my job. It was something I knew I've always had to do, because I always felt that there was if it's not, on one hand, I know I came with that particular chip on my shoulder. On the other hand, I also felt it, right? I would feel the initial check to see where your technical capabilities are, and I would quickly check back, right? In intellectual prowess, that was a thing for me. And then once that was established, and once that was said, we're always good. We're always good to go. So I'd say being a Black man in technology has pushed me, right? I've always wanted to come and represent who I am, where I'm from the start. So it's definitely pushed me in that way. And I'm happy now that I'm not happy, but I'll say I'm glad that things are getting better, and there's more awareness of the challenges of being a Black male in technology. But the one thing I really want to see, that absolutely need to see, I want to see more Black women in technology. It is like abysmal, abysmal. It's something that absolutely has to be changed, absolutely has to be addressed. I know we're out there. We just need to make the environment and culture more welcoming and open. And and like I said, my mom is my biggest, favorite person in the world. So I just have a respect, and I know what strong Black women could bring to the equation. So I just feel that if we could just make an opening avenue, just make things just more welcoming for a good amount of time and let it settle, I think that the tech industry would get taken with a storm or hurricane. And I feel that we're just missing that big time. Sure.
That's awesome. Um, what is your favorite place that you've ever lived? Or best place?
Best place I've ever lived. It's got to be growing up, really growing up in Nigeria. Like the infrastructure wise, and when you look at things from like a macro perspective, it's like, okay, it's definitely standard of living is less, but it was what we did with what we had, right? It was like 5 kids. We lived in a 3, 1.5 home, but we got to play every single day. And when I say play, I'm talking about play outside. Growing up in Nigeria, we had just about every fruit tree you could think about, like even some like tropical fruits, like mango trees and guava trees and papaya and oranges and tangerines. I could name a bunch of them. And so my snacks then, when I would get back from school and food wasn't ready, would be to go climb the tree and pluck fruit and eat the fruit up in the tree, right? And it's what we did with the little we had, coming from a place of not knowing what else was out there. But then, when they say it takes a village, I really experienced that, given that both we grew up in a university community. So all the other kids there were also kind of college, their parents were also professors. So we played everywhere. We rode our bikes, far, and there was never any concerns of anything crazy going on. And, I really enjoy the US. I really enjoy the community I've got here that we've kind of formed here in Austin of like really close friends. But while there's so much infrastructure and so much opportunity, it's just not as open and as intertwined as I felt growing up in Nigeria.
I'm not sure if I asked you this one, but what do you see as your place or your purpose?
Oh, my place and purpose was to use technology to, yeah.
Okay, I have another one. So what would you want or what do you think your kids would say about you once you're gone?
Well, what my kids would say. Right now, if I imagine them now, I know they'll say, "Oh, that is really hard." But he dances, he loves us, but he's such a hard daddy. But I hope they do get to they do get to say that my dad prepared us, right? So I'm a little bit more conventional, I'll say, my upbringing. So a little harder on them now. So similar to myself growing up, my parents were hard on me when I was younger. But around 12 or 13, they started like really loosening. So I feel they instilled in me wisdom when I was really young. And so early in life, they just kind of started letting the reins go. So much so that I came to the US myself at 17. So I got on the plane and I came to the US for college myself, not with my family alone. But that's because they'd already taught me what it took to be an adult growing up in Nigeria. And so I try to do some of that with my kids. It may seem harsh or hard. I won't use the word harsh, but I'll say it may seem hard in comparison to maybe what they may see the other friends do. But I'm hoping that, when I'm done, to look back and to say, "Oh, Dad prepared us for life."
How do you give back?
Um, so I do the obvious kind of donating with funds. Um, then I've started giving back more with time. So as I've gone higher up, I'll say career-wise, my prior job, I was the Black African Caribbean outreach lead.
Mm.
And so it's something I did. I was unpaid, but I did as part of my job. Obviously, the company made the opportunity for it, and so I stepped in, volunteered, and stepped in that way. Um, and then now in my current position at Microsoft, it's a new position, by the way. So I'm trying to figure out where I fit in, how I fit in. But one thing I've definitely taken on is more on the recruiting front. Um, I'm I'm training not only to be a recruiter, but also the final decision maker. So that they kind of have a setup there where there's one person that makes the final decision. And the reason why I want to do that is just to be part of the process of this kind of making sure that all folks are assessed well, right? So we're not trying to weed out or screen out. We're trying to kind of screen in. And so I want to be part of that like loop, decision making loop when it comes to all kinds of candidates and very particularly marginalized candidates. So a lot of the interview loops I've done so far in that direction. Then other ways that I know we do little volunteer things here and there, but definitely not on a consistent basis enough.
Um, what is your favorite book or book you'd recommend?
Oh, so one that I'm doing very recently, I'm actually in the process of reading. It's called The Growth Mindset.
Tell us about it.
And the growth mindset, it's I'm trying to remember the name. I think it's Carolyn. I can't remember the name of the author, but it's one I have on Audible. It's actually a book club that we're doing in Microsoft,
Mhm.
at least on my team. But the thing that a growth mindset pushes is that they're, obviously in generalities, there are two basically modes of mindset. There's a fixed mindset where it's about living up to perceptions, right? You want to be there, you want to be seen as the top, you want to live up to certain expectations. And then there's a growth mindset that it's not about perception, but it's about what could be accomplished. And so um, just in summary, the fixed mindset actually is debilitating because when you don't live up to whatever expectations or standards you put for yourself, you end up kind of giving up on maybe a dream or even losing out on a natural born talent just because it didn't play out the way you were hoping to play out. And then that's contrasted against the growth mindset where, when you meet challenges are viewed as opportunity, right? It's an opportunity to lean in, it's an opportunity to ask questions without feeling that you're not worthy or whatever the case may be. And then she applies it to many different facets of life. She applies it to relationships, she applies it to raising kids, to athletes, to even things that I would once upon a time like declare as like God-given talents like art. She actually shows that no, that's could be learned as well if you just kind of went through the process of learning art. So it's about just really opening up your mind, not being limited by preset presuppositions or preset conceptions of where you should be at, but just driving to where you want to go and enjoying the process, the journey along the way.
Did you talk about your life lessons
Life lessons? No, I haven't talked. I don't think I've answered life lessons yet.
that you've learned?
Life lessons. Number one life lesson I would say is that we're all journeyman and journeywomen on Earth, right? So keeping that kind of, I wouldn't say front and foremost in your mind, but just kind of somewhere in things that you do, just realizing that hey, we're here for a finite amount of time, and in that time we have the opportunity to leave a stamp on the world. Now, for some folks, the stamp may be more widely felt and recognized, but I feel everyone does leave a stamp. So that's life lesson number one. Life lesson number two, which is very related to that, is that we don't take any of this with us, right? So in terms of prioritizing, and I'm poor at this one, I'll state it, and I know I'm really poor at this, but a lot of times I put priorities to the things that really don't count as much. Whereas the things that do count, which are, the impact you live on people, like spiritually, the impact you live on people's psyche, on humanity, our quote unquote immortality is really in what we pass on to to the next generation or folks around us, right? And then just better prioritizing that is another thing. Learning to sweat the small stuff when it counts. So sweating the small stuff would be time spent with kids and, smelling the roses. I don't do that, but I should, like not seated on the computer all day. And then not also don't sweat the small stuff like, you look in let's say you look in your stock portfolio and it's down, a big deal. And it's like, oh, it's just kind of like, yeah, you've probably won some here, lost some there. In the grand scheme, it'd be great to leave something for your kids, but we're not taking none of this stuff with us. It's all gonna rot away anyway. So a lot of it is around that whole meta narrative that we're here for a finite amount of time, life lesson wise, and then optimizing for people. That's another thing I've learned. So in a high competition type culture that you have in the US, even Nigeria, and just many different parts of the world, the competition a lot of times results in putting relationships to the side and even almost kind of using people to elevate oneself. But that I've never really just seen it work out, in that way. The loss you get from there's always to do that. There's always a loss in something else that is felt. And so I just optimize for people now. So even when I'm working on my teams and I have my directs, I'm more about trying to figure out to really learn what they want to accomplish in life and how I could help be part of that journey in their life story and not necessarily just be the arbiter of like, oh, here's where your career is going, or here's where I see, it's just a different perspective. But yeah, I optimize for people now, for sure.
What do you enjoy doing in your leisure time?
My leisure time, watching Netflix. That's what I do. I should do some other things. I don't play video games anymore. I used to do a lot of like just different sports around town, like soccer and flag football. I don't do as much of that anymore. So it's between working out and watching Netflix. That's my leisure. So the reason why I watch Netflix and a lot of the shows I watch are like either fantasy-based shows or superhero shows, is that it just lets me just get away, like live in an alternate reality, alternate universe. Maybe I might couple that with some wine sometimes to enhance the effect. But yes, that's what I do. Yeah.
So the last question is, what does it mean to you to be chosen as top 10 technologist of 2020, 21?
I mean, like honestly, like completely honored. So I was floored. I saw it and I was like, I don't know. Is this like how did this come about? I'm not a very out there kind of person, but really honestly, I'm honored. Right. So I've been doing this for 20 years, and I do know that there's not a lot of kind of Black males in technology, or even just Black folks in technology, and I've tried to do it with excellence. And I grew up with the hey, you don't toot your own horn, but if someone else finds it and realizes it, then great job. So this was to me is like an honor, completely unexpected, but at the same time completely accepted and completely elated, to be honest. I like to keep my cool, but I'm definitely excited that I got recognized in something, right? Because I just kind of live more or less not a loud life. So to get recognized is a big honor, for sure.
Yeah, and that's one of the reasons why we wanted to do Technologists, because like I said, my ex he's an engineer, and
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
you guys, you don't really care about what other people think, honestly.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
And so so why this is important, not just because of what you've accomplished, but for other little boys and girls to
Yeah.
look at you and say, you know what, because they see you now and they are like, oh my God, he's larger than life, he's doing all this stuff, he's got this great job, and so they don't see how they can get there. And so it's kind of and because you guys aren't out there, because if you look at the list, I think maybe Jim. I think Jim does a lot of stuff online, but
Yes, I've actually been in a seminar with Jim.
yeah,
Google, yes, I've
you know what I
seen it
mean.
before.
So,
I've seen that.
yeah, so the folks that we choose a lot of times are the people who are not as vocal, because you're the ones that are making the biggest impact, because you're churning away and you're impacting so many people's lives, because a lot of times, when we get, when I get the emails and stuff, saying, oh, you got to have this guy, got to have this guy. And they say, first of all, because if you look at the way you're chosen, it's, you got to, be a technologist, number one.
Yeah.
And then you have to have an impact on the community, and helping to reach back. But the other is you have to have a great reputation, right? Because I mean, who wants to follow an asshole, right?
Oh yeah, there's plenty of that in
And
Texas.
and my ex is an asshole, so
Or
that's why he would never be on the list.
that's why it's not on the list, huh? It's like you're not.
He'll never be on the list. Because you want the kids to emulate people like you, not the sports figures and the television people and the rappers and stuff. You guys are the true heroes. And that's why we try to make sure that, we celebrate you that way, because you are truly the heroes of our community. Because, if not for you guys, I mean, who knows because they're not making it to the NBA. I mean,
yeah, I know.
1%,
Yeah.
So this is true.
And even just a quick story that just really brought the whole importance of representation to life. So my son, he's really beginning to love, growing up in Texas, right? Beginning to really love football. So he watches football, and then he's like, hey, Dad, can you do some drills with me? And I do some drills with him or whatnot. And then one day he just came to me out of the blue and he's like, hey, Dad, can you tell me a left-handed quarterback that looks like out of the blue? So my son is left-handed. So that's representation. He wanted to know, is there someone that's left-handed that looks like me? Oh, and that loves to run, because he loves to scatter and run himself. And so in my mind, I was like, then I was like, Michael Vick. Yes, Michael Vick. And Michael Vick is left-handed, fast, all of that stuff. But and he was maybe 6 at this point in time. So even at that age, he wanted to know, is there something I could aspire to? Because he said that looks like me. So that was his way of saying that's black, right? So even at that age, he was already looking for something to aspire to. And that's when I just realized that representation, we talk about it, I've always known is important, but I didn't realize how just core it is to be able to see someone in a position. And that's why I say, with Obama being the president, regardless of what anyone says about job performance, the door's been open, right? It always takes one to crack open that door. And then kids that have seen that now know, I could do that, right? So we have more Obamas coming behind that for sure.
Yeah, and I had the fortune and opportunity to work for him, and I would tell you, he's a really good man.
Yes,
a good leader as well.
Yeah.
But he's a really good man, and I don't think that there could have been another first one. I mean, Jesse Jackson.
No.
Because Jesse tried it way back when, but the caliber of person that Obama
the character that he came with, like there was zero scandal. I mean, come on now, for 8 years and have zero scandal.
Still none.
Still
none.
Does. Yeah.
Still none.
No,
and so exactly. And so that, that is a true hero, right? That is someone who you really want to aspire to be. I mean, you don't want to aspire to be the last, that we have, right?
No.
I mean, Lord have mercy. Oh my God.
But talking about this though, I do want to, obviously when I got the email from you, there's some natural investigatory stuff that went down. So just big, oh wow, big kudos to you though. Wow. It was like, oh my goodness.
Yeah,
you've done the businesses, you sold the business. Then you were in the military too at some point.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. It's been a journey. I mean, I was fortunate. Like when I got out of the military and in 2008, retired 20 years.
Yeah.
Immediately, that's when Obama was elected. And so I did PR and marketing, and so in the military, and so I got a call in like June, and they were like, Obama just got elected, and we'd love for you to come to DC and work on Obama's PR team. Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
I mean, you got
Where's my keys? I'm on the way.
yeah,
Right?
exactly. I'm like, I had already hung up my uniform and everything, you know. And it's like, man, where's my stuff, right?
You're right.
Like, that was the first question I asked. Like, do I have to go as a military officer or yeah,
Yeah.
military? Hey, I'm okay.
Yeah, whichever. Yeah, I'm in.
Yeah, so I mean, you know, just that, I mean, being able to go to the White House almost every day and be in that space where this
Yeah.
man is, you know, he's really running the country and he looks like me, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Um,
yeah.
and so it was interesting because, you know, a lot of the military folks, you know, the higher ups, you know, the officers are Republican.
Yeah, right, right. Yes.
So, you know, so, but it's like, you know, because we work for him, my boss is, I mean, my boss had like General Milley, he's now he's the chairman of the Joint Chief.
Yeah.
He's got this huge Southern accent. And so, and I know they didn't like him, but
Yeah.
they would not say a word. They would, you know, because he was giving them hell, because
Oh yeah, right.
this is what you got to do. And he's the president. What else you
Yeah.
gonna do?
Yeah.
And so, you know,
Exactly.
so now Fox News is always playing in the, you know, in the,
Yeah, oh yeah, right, right, right. Exactly. You
Right.
go to the lunchroom and that's what they're listening to. Like, oh, now we're the same
come
place.
on now. But you know, but he was, you know, he did his thing.
It
And
was amazing. No, no,
very,
there's no better representative that we
yeah, for
did for the
sure,
first one.
sure,
Right?
absolutely.
Because if anything less would have just given any excuse, right?
Exactly. Oh,
Be like, yeah, oh
yeah, never again. We don't
yeah.
ever
Never,
want to.
yeah, never exactly.
They'd be like, "Oh, remember he did this, right?"
Yeah.
His worst thing was wearing a brown suit one day to a press conference, and they acted like a fool.
Like, yeah, exactly.
A brown suit, you know.
Right.
Is there
Yeah, thank you
anything,
so
like I
much,
said,
Tom.
that was the last question, but is there
Yeah.
anything else you'd like to share?
Anything else? No, I mean, like, you know, outside of hopefully connecting with you in person, like I'm really truly honored, to be honest. I'm truly honored. I apologize for the earlier casual, and that's just
Oh
me
no.
not in my element.
Well,
But
let
yeah,
me tell you, I've told with the first Black Chief Justice of Texas, you know, the Supreme Court Justice, that he needed to put on a jacket. And it was so funny because, you know, he's really quiet. He's very, you know, kind of shy almost. And
yeah,
so after, you know, I mean, because, you know, when I'm here, I'm doing, you know, it's a mode, right? Because I'm not doing this for me. I'm doing this for the community. You know, 'cause
yeah,
when
yeah.
I started this, I mean, my company's nonprofit, you know, because
Okay.
I just didn't feel like, you know, this was about money. It's about,
Yeah,
you know, ensuring that our Black businesses had a you know, a place to advertise that was, you know, quality, because,
yeah,
you know, white people aren't gonna, you know, they'll throw a little money at
yeah.
some
Little here and
things,
there.
but if
Right,
it's not quality, they're not gonna spend the kind of white money that they spend with other
right,
companies.
right.
So yeah, so it's definitely been a journey, but you know, it was crazy, you know, when I first got out, you know, and then started my company, and then, you know, you had folks coming knocking saying, "Hey, we want to buy your business," and you're like,
Yeah,
"What? Why?"
yeah,
You know,
yeah,
why? You know, and you know, because that's not my you know, where I come from. And
yeah,
so, you know, so I had to learn that sell it and
yeah,
then create a new one,
yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
so, and because I did that, I was able to start this nonprofit. And that's what people,
Right.
it's like,
That's
you know,
amazing.
yeah. And so, you know, just, and then when I did this nonprofit, it's like everything just opened up. I mean, I host a group of 20,000 Black people in Austin. What?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Right.
20,000?
You're right.
And there's 15,000 that are active. So I know you got to go.
No, no, sorry, yeah, a little
No
long.
worries, but oh yes, 3 o'clock. So but thank you. That's all I have you know,
Yeah.
for you. But yeah, and I'll send you, hopefully you guys are gonna come, you're gonna make it to the gala.
Yes, and I'll send you. You wanted a photo,
Yeah, please.
length photo.
You
Yes,
have
I'll
one?
send you.
Okay.
I have one where I'm seated, if that's okay.
Do you want to show me real quick?
Yeah, let me see. Let me pull it up here
Let me
quickly,
see
and
if I
I'll
can
show it on the
okay, give
screen.
you share. Yeah, so last year is when, you know, I've been working, trying to, you know, just spread the word about our businesses. And so, you know, we were providing education and, you know, community. And so last year with COVID, you know, our Black people were not getting That's good. I would really like one with a jacket on, you
Oh,
know?
one with a jacket on. Okay, I'll have to go. Yeah, I'll have to take one with a jacket on.
Yeah. And so, yeah, same thing. I mean, this is great. This is a great photo, but
I'll get one with a jacket. I can't wait to do that.
yeah, because, you know, again, I mean, they see you like that all the time, right? You know, because that's how people see you, right? But
Yeah.
you know, when we're doing this, we want people to, you know,
See the elevated. Yeah.
you're a big deal, man. So,
Okay.
you know,
Thank you.
that's you know, we never know how long these things last, right? And
Yeah,
so
that's true. That's right.
that's
Right.
the image we want people in, you know, in their head. So
Yeah,
we know
I'll
that's
take.
not how we
I'll
dress
get one.
outside
I'll
the
get
day.
one with a jacket. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So
More professional for sure.
awesome, awesome. Get her done. Well, thank
Yeah.
you again, and
Thank
let me
you.
know. And I'll send you an email also about you know, for like table sponsorship if you know, if you guys want to get a table and invite
Okay.
some friends out.
Okay.
All right. It is black tie, so get your tux ready.
Yes, I know. And it's a full formal affair. So.
It is. All right. Well, we'll see you soon
Okay.
and take care. And if you
Right.
need anything, just, you know, you got my number. I'll send it to you as well.
Oh, yeah, if you don't mind. Yes, and
Okay.
I'll text you back so you have mine too.
All right. Awesome.
Yeah.
Okay. Take care. We'll
Yeah,
see you
good to
soon.
meet you. Yeah, thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.